Hi, and good morning from Nashville, Tennessee. Still waiting on my load to get ready. I want to start on this letter that that Paul wrote to the Christians in Rome. Here's an interesting thing about this letter. It was written to people that Paul had never met. He had not yet gone to Rome, and so the letter was written from Corinth prior to his going to Rome. And Paul covers a whole lot of ground in this letter, and it's a most difficult letter to try to take apart piece by piece, because one part helps define the next part, which helps define the next part. I mean, really, the best way to really dig into this letter is all in one sitting. And unfortunately, with the time constraints that we have with Facebook and even YouTube, there's no way that this could be done. And even, my goodness, to preach through the whole letter in one sitting in a congregation, you would be there for quite some time. Even to hit the highlights of the letter takes just a lot of time. Paul starts this letter out, though, proclaiming that the gospel is the means or the way that man is saved. And we see that in Romans chapter 1 and verse 16, where Paul says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it, the gospel, is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek." Now I have to tell you, really, when we define the gospel of Jesus Christ, crucified, buried, and risen the third day for sin, and then we read Romans 1:16, that in and of itself is enough to bring a person to a knowledge or an understanding of what salvation looks like. We want to overwhelm people sometimes, I think, with our amount of Bible knowledge, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with knowledge. We're told to grow in grace and in truth and in understanding, and to grow in Christ. And these things are all good. It's both for personal edification, and it's also to edify the saints. And I got all that. But when we're dealing with a person who is lost, the simpler we make this, the better off we are. I continually go back to Philip with the eunuch, and Philip basically preaches Jesus, it says, and of course we know what that means: crucified, buried, risen. And then the eunuch just simply says, "You know what? I believe that Jesus is the Son of God." And immediately, they come upon this water, and Philip goes and baptizes him based solely and completely on that profession of faith. And so to take this to a level that's any deeper than that, I don't even see any substantiation for that in the scriptures anywhere. Nowhere. Anything more than that, now we've added to the gospel, and now we're trying to justify ourselves through works. So, by way of introduction, I just kind of wanted to start this deal off here in Romans with this, and And we look at 1:17, it says, "For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith." Well, for therein is the righteousness of God revealed. What is he talking about? We go back to, he's talking about the gospel. The gospel reveals the righteousness of God and how we're to attain that righteousness, and it's by faith. Verse 18, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who will the truth and unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest or made known in them, for God hath showed it to them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened." This is this is real interesting when it talks about when they knew God. It's gnosko, not epignosko, and the difference is a basic knowledge versus let's say an absolute understanding. And that's kind of the difference between those two uses of the words of knowledge and true knowledge, if you will. But we go on here, and what Paul describes is the wickedness or the sin, if you will, of the heathen. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, birds, four-footed beasts, creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to the uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Now here's something that's interesting about this. Worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator. The way I really look at this is they worship themselves. It's not so much idol worship here as it was they were involved in self-worship. Because look at what God does. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men working with men that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was mean. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. Reprobate mind, man, it means worthless. In other words, God just gave them over to do the things that they chose to do, and for lack of a better way of putting this, he just kind of washed his hands of them, and he's like, look, if you want to live that way, I'm going to let you live that. And that's exactly what he did with Pharaoh. When we get to Romans 9, we'll get to that. Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful. And listen, I would encourage you to get out a good lexicon and look up those words, man, because it will just separate your head from your shoulders. Now here's an interesting part. Who, knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. These people know that what they're doing is wrong and deserving of death. They know it. All right, that's it for Romans 1. We'll work on Romans 2 next.